Hi guys, winter is coming and I want to show you guys what I'm doing this year in terms of winter preparation for my greenhouse. I actually did most of the work last year, so I'm going to link to the video that I did last year or where I showed you guys exactly like what I put into my greenhouse. But this year it's pretty much just like improvements on the things that I did last year, lessons learned and so forth. So I'll show you my outside insulation, my bubble wrap that I have, which I'll talk a little bit about it later on. But I just want to show you guys the plants that I have that are going to be going into dormancy. So I have on this top shelf here my Dendrobium nobilis, other dendrobiums that need a winter rest, Pleiones, Dendrobium kingianums, and their hybrids. I also have a corpse plant in the back as well, and that has completely died off, and the bulb has gone into dormancy already. And that was like 2 months ago that it did that, so it went into dormancy pretty early on. So these guys, I just put them on the top shelf because I feel like this is the best place for them. I used to hang them in the bar in the middle of the greenhouse, but I felt like they needed to all be together, like all of the ones that are going into dormancy, and I felt like this shelf was a better option for them. They like a lot of light, so that's why I put them on the top shelf. And these guys, like, see how their leaves are like that light green? They just love being near the light, and they love like bright light. I do have a shade cloth that I put over my plant right now, and I'm going to show you that shade cloth right there. That shade cloth is about 70%, so it blocks a lot of the light. And I actually just got this from Home Depot. That's why I didn't really have an option in terms of how much light it can block. But if you purchase your shade cloth online, like at like Greenhouse Megastore, I think, then you can definitely choose like how many percentage of the light you want to block. So I haven't taken my shade cloth off yet because it's still pretty hot here. Like, we have some hot cold weather lately. It's very unpredictable. So this week has been really hot, and that's why I haven't taken my shade cloth off yet. My plant, this little shelf here, which is like full of Catasetum plants. These guys, I will have to watch each and every one of them and see whether or not they're going to go into dormancy. In terms of the dendrobiums, I'm actually going to force them into dormancy. So it's not the same as the Catasetums where I kind of wait to see how they are, like whether or not they're going to drop their leaves, and then I put them through dormancy. But the dendrobiums, the Pleiones, and so forth, like those on the top shelf there, I'm going to force them into dormancy once it gets pretty cold. And right now it's not extremely cold yet, but I think the weather for next week is going to be like 20 degrees colder. So I'm going to force those into dormancy. These guys, the Catasetums, right now, all their leaves are really green, so I'm still going to be watering them, which is why they're kind of slightly on a different shelf. And I think I have like way too many Catasetums, honestly, because this shelf just doesn't hold it enough for them. There's just no space. And I killed some too because I wasn't watering when I should be, and then sometimes I would water when I shouldn't be, so that is completely my fault. But anyway, like, these guys all have their green leaves, which means that they still need water. That guy in the back right there with the yellow leaf, I'm going to watch that guy, because that guy is probably the first one to go into dormancy. So let's take a look at my bubble wrap on the outside. So the reason why the bubble wrap is on the outside is because I put it in after I put in all of my plants. So unfortunately, it's just way easier to put it on the outside because I didn't want to have take out all my plants and put the bubble wrap in. This bubble wrap is about an inch bubble wrap. Don't get the ones that are too small, the bubble wrap that like you wrap your gifts and stuff with, because they don't work as well. You want the bigger bubble wraps. They work a lot better in insulation or insulating the greenhouse. And I just taped them up, but the tape from last year actually just kind of fell off as the year went by, because with all the dirt and stuff, like it was just, anyway. Yeah, so I had to like retape them all. For my heaters, I have 2 different space heaters. I have one on one end and one on the other end. And these work okay for me. They're just the ones that are made for your house. If you don't have a heater, or if you have the money for a greenhouse heater, I would say go ahead and get one that's specially made for the greenhouse, because I think that would work a whole lot better. But I just have these ones already, and I didn't really need one in my house, so that's why I brought them out here. Make sure you elevate your heaters and you don't get them wet, because that could be a whole lot of trouble. Whenever I water my plants, I would take my heaters out, and then when I'm done watering, I would bring the heaters back in, and then I would elevate my heaters up, so then that way they're not sitting on the ground on top of the water. If you can afford it, get a backup heater or 2 backup heaters, something that's not using electricity, because if your electricity went out, you still have a backup heater to keep your greenhouse going. I don't really have extremely cold temperatures. Like, I think my temperature probably goes down to about 0, but I'm not talking about like in the negatives, so it's still okay if it's like one day of failure. I got the heaters that has the setting where it also tells you what temperature your greenhouse is at right now, so it's kind of hard to see, but mine is at 68 degrees, which is kind of chilly. And it also has a setting where I can set it so then that way whenever it gets below a certain amount or a certain temperature, the heater will automatically turn on. This is really efficient, especially for me, because I don't have to keep the heaters running. So if you push the negative or the minus or plus sign, you can increase or decrease the temperature. So I can decrease it to like 59 degrees. So anything that's below 59 degrees, it would, or if the temperature is below 59 degrees, then my heaters will turn on. I can also increase it to about, I think a maximum is like 80 something degrees. I think that's way too hot, and I don't think my heaters can bring the temperature up that high. Like, it can't bring it up from like 40 degrees to 80, because that's just not possible for the space that I'm in. But I don't like to keep it high either, because I think I would be paying a lot of money for my bill and I would get in so much trouble. So it's just efficient to get something like this, so then the heater will automatically turn on or off whenever whenever the temperature gets below a certain amount. I think that's pretty much it in terms of winter preparation for this year. I did most of the work last year. Well, technically speaking, my dad did most of the work last year for me. So I just have to bring in the heaters this year and make sure everything's just in place and ready to go. If you guys have any recommendations in terms of which heaters to get for my greenhouse, if I'm going to be upgrading it to maybe like a non-electric one, definitely leave me in the comments below and I will check it out. And whenever I get a new heater, I will do a video on that. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye!